Are there workforce factors that make Brazil an appealing choice for IT talent? That's the first part of that. And further, how do you see the sustainability of that talent since you've been in the market for so long?
Well, as I said, I chose Brazil because after evaluating so many different options and being asked to do things with India and other places, and they're all good places to, so one doesn't preclude the other. The main reason I did is because of the talent pool. I consider myself a human capital specialist. I try and find the best talent, the top 10% wherever I am, and in Brazil I think we've tapped into that, and as well as in the US. And what I could say is starting with the educational system. So you have a great educational system for promoting phenomenal engineers. And we were just talking about the numbers. It's over 100,000 graduates per year, so scalability is there. You have the time zone issue, right? So you're between 1 and 3 hours. Most people know that in the room. For those of you who don't, it's the max is a 3-hour time zone difference, and Brazilians happen to be late people anyway. So when we're in the later parts, fine, they stay and overlap. So it's as if they're sitting in your office in the States, but they are an extension of it. Overall, I've been, the business has been built basically around Brazilian talent, although I've hired from, and we have people from every country still working for us. The bulk is Brazil, it's on offshore, it's project work, it's staff augmentation, it's a mixed model, it depends on what the client's ready for. Yeah, you want cost savings, but the pendulum's swinging back to, okay, I don't really need the cheapest, it's quality, and rework. If you get a rework, nobody builds that into the real number. So what do you get? You're probably going to get, in reality, if you expect a 30% savings, you're probably going to wind up getting maybe closer to 40%. But if you go in saying, I'm going to save 30%, I'm going to build teams, I'm going to get innovation, I'm going to get forward thinking, and it could be on a consultancy basis where you're getting governance, architectural review. It's a mixed thing. It depends on what the client's looking for or what their needs will be over the next year, 3 year, 5 years. And we've, so you get that with cost savings. So is it the cheapest? No. And if you go in and that's what you're looking for, then don't go to Brazil. But if you want incredible quality with the cost savings and the same time zone and scalable model, then I would say absolutely look at it.
Are you in the belief that Brazil can play a role in this, in creating the opportunity for agile and mobile computing application development needs that maybe would offset some of this lag here in the US or globally?
Well, definitely. We actually have been doing this for customers here in the East Coast and West Coast and Silicon Valley. I can tell you what we have people here working on both coasts and Brazil, and I can tell you that it's much easier to find an Android developer in Brazil than it is in Silicon Valley. It's very hard to find talent here. But not even considered, we're not talking about labor arbitrage, just easiness to find people to work, right? So again, there's a segue to what Joanne said. It's a very big talent pool. So we're probably around 2 million people working on IT in Brazil, and I think that I believe that those new technologies, those cool technologies like mobile, social media, cloud, they're a great opportunity for Brazil because mainly internal market. Brazilian market is very sophisticated in consumer relations. It's very different from some other neighbors or even Asia. So Brazilians are very early adopters of technology. So besides US, the hugest penetration of social media is in Brazil. There's a mindset of a problem solving about this labor force. I think that's one of the skills that you find most interesting. It's a very suitable to deal with uncertainty. You know, when talking about mobile, those type of digital initiative applications, you actually don't know what you're going to face when you launch a mobile app or whatever, right? So actually you have to react very fast, and there's no other way to do that other than have your partner in Brazil or whatever in Latin America actually understanding the problem with you and having this kind of a proactive mindset of suggesting where to go and reacting very fast. And agile is kind of a big thing in Brazil.
Brazilians are, incredible.
Are we?
I love Brazilians. And I do think there's a thirst for, look, it's where they are. this is a democracy, it's highly evolved, they're well educated. What comes next? Social media, right? It's like that. It's part of the next generation, which for me, I feel like I'm the older one now, but it's the next generation. There's a thirst for it, and there's a thirst for being in. Also, the Brazilians love to do whatever the Americans do. So they love their Louis Vuitton bags, and who's in here with a Louis Vuitton bag? If they're Brazilian women, they love to be more like us.
What, in your opinion, for your company, makes Brazil an attractive site to establish IT services? And then to further on to that, what do you think the differentiators are, say, of Brazil to Asia or wherever else you might be looking for services?
Well, I think Brazil, I think not. I believe Brazil, it's a very mature country in terms of IT industry, in terms of internal market, in terms of high quality services, in terms of qualified labor. And thinking about maturity, we can see, for example, the oil extraction. We sell this technology for all of the companies around the world. And this maturity, this success environment constructed by from all those years, I think is the interesting mark that motivate establishment in Brazil.
And some of our clients are very worried about the aspect of entering into the market, because the things that they're hearing is the fact that it's a very confusing market in which to gain entry. But again, if you have the right partner helping you through that, I think that makes a difference. I'm going to just put that out there. But from your perspective, what are you thinking? What are the challenges, again, given some of the things that we've talked about today?
Can I take this one?
Please. Yeah. Well, you all should maybe have.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I think there's something that we have to clear out there. It's complicated to do business in Brazil, not so ever. It's westernized, completely business as usual as here. Value proposition, very straight. So, unfortunately, every culture and country has its own idiosyncrasies, right? And Brazil is the fiscal system. It's the worst in the world, right? So if you're thinking of establishing yourself in Brazil, open up a branch there, yes, there will be a great learning curve to learn how to report back to the government what taxes have to pay if you're all set with them. So but other than taxes, just business as usual. There's no complication in commercial relations and business relations in Brazil whatsoever.
The same rule that you have in your company, everybody or every companies, they have to run to those same rules. So if it's easy for one, it's easy for others. It's difficult for one, it's going to be difficult for others. That's a fair market.
The tough part of Brazil is the employer burden. There's a huge tax burden as an employer. And there's a liability as far as retaining. In the States, we have a much more flexible model. It's not quite as costly. But putting someone on what we call W-2 in the States, it's called CI&T there, it's a costly endeavor. The tax burden is high. So I would say that's a little bit of a downside. It's costly.
Just tying back to your question, what the government could do, tying back to Tom's question, like what has been in place for the government has been doing to increase competitiveness on the industry. I think the federal government has done a lot of things. So there's no, compared to what we actually, our prices that we practice here in the States are cheaper than practice for internal market in Brazil, because there's a lot of tax breaks for incentives to export. So the prices we use here in the States or for any other, Canada, for any other countries, it's much lower than we use in Brazil because of tax breaks that were put in place 5-6 years ago. So tax breaks on that burden that you mentioned, tax breaks on sales taxes and many out of them. Regarding openness, Tom, it's not an open market. It's like there's taxes on imports. So if you're going to import services from Philippines to Brazil, there's a very high import tax, but no different than any other poor country that I know.
If we make a list of what we want from the government, it's going to be like a Santa Claus list. And I think the Brazilian way, they not stop to complain, but they try to move on independently what happened in the government. I think the Brazilian entrepreneurs, Brazilian executives, they realized that if they still complaining about the government, they will not go anywhere. So independently of the government rules, of the taxes, Brazilian people, they realize they have to move on.
I think the last question has to be surrounding the Olympics and the World Cup. And I guess I'm real curious from your opinions how it's going, and is the country going to be ready? I was just there a couple months ago, last month actually. So just from those of you that are there all the time more than I probably, what are your thoughts? Are you getting excited, and is the country excited and wrapping their arms around it?
It will be the best World Cup ever, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, I think the atmosphere will be terrific. Stadiums will be ready. Don't worry. Stadiums will
it's
be
almost
ready.
ready.
The night before.
Airports
They'll be ready
will
the
be
night
packed.
before.
They'll be ready the night before, in pure Latin America style and U.S. style these days.
Yeah, just believe that the private sector is much better than the government side of it. So.